It's good to see you here today on 10 Minutes to Refuel with Pastor Jim Diehl. I was awakened in the night 2 or 3 nights ago and thinking about this and that, and then I started praying about my 10 minutes with you here today. Lord, where do you want me to go now? What do you want me to say? And I was reminded of a poem that I have used in the past numerous times, but I just haven't used it for 6 or 8 years. So I had to search a little bit, found it. It's written by Jeff Lyles, who was a youth pastor when he wrote this. He's the senior pastor now at the Church of the Nazarene in Kingfisher, Oklahoma. Listen to this. If I could be anywhere, I would not be here. I would be where everyone was nice and kind to each other. I would be where nobody threw stones and nobody cried. If I could be anywhere, I would not be here. I would be where no one was lonely and everyone had at least 3 friends. I would be where no one would laugh when I made a mistake and no one comes in last, and everyone gets a prize for just trying. If I could be anywhere, I would not be here. But I am here. So I will bring where I want to be to where I am. That's good. I'm going to read that line again. So I will bring where I want to be to where I am. I will find one that makes a mistake and encourage him to keep on trying. I will look for the lonely and say, "Can I sit with you?" I will look for tears of hurt and sadness and offer my towel of peace and joy. I will search for the heartless and give them part of mine. So if I bring where I want to be to where I am, then this is where I need to be. Oh, that is good. Thank you, Jeff Lyles. That is good. And here we are, 2020, and our world is really in a mess. From all of the COVID pandemic and all the other words that are in there, that's left the world reeling. The United States, I've not seen anything like this for years and years, as there are marches in the streets and riots there and buildings burning and graffiti everywhere and cursing and swearing so much that the TV news has to bleep about every other word out. Now that's not the America that we want. That's not the society that we want. It just seems that everybody is on the warpath these days. Well, has it dawned on you that God gave you and me life? We're not just animals. We're a living soul. And God gave us life. And He has us alive in 2020. Some of you might wish it was 1920. Well, why didn't I live in 1520? I wonder what it would have been like in 1120. Well, you can go forever there, but we're alive in 2020. And there is a crisis in the land and the world, but God has you and me here to make a positive difference. If I don't like what is going on, then I will bring what I want it to be to where I am, so this is where I need to be. Well, then I thought, what scripture in the world would go along with that? And finally, I'm sure the Lord reminded me of Esther. Back in the Old Testament, the story of Esther. Now, this is real briefly told, but she was a young, beautiful Jewish virgin. The king had gotten rid of the other queen, And that's another story. And then he had all of the young ladies that were gathered together, and he chose Esther to be his queen. She was Jewish, and he didn't know it. Then there was an ungodly, evil plot by Haman in order to exterminate the Jews and have every man, woman, and child killed that were Jewish. And it's quite complicated, but it's right here in Esther. And he went to the king and presented the plan, and the king went along with Haman's plan to exterminate the Jews. And the word went out, and there was weeping and wailing and praying. And then a man named Mordecai went to Esther. Now she's the queen, rather newly in this position, and said, "Yet who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" God has you in that position. Who knows, Esther, but what the whole reason that you were chosen was for a time like this to save your people. And she responded, knowing that if she went to the king and he didn't like it, he could have her killed on the spot. But she finally said words that we all have heard: "If I perish, I perish. I'm going to do what's right." And she went to the king. I wish you would read the whole story. It is really intriguing. And the king got his eyes open and saw about the plot that had been all fixed up for him. And instead of hanging on the gallows, the man that Haman wanted to hang, Haman himself was hung there. And the Jewish people were spared, and God used Esther. How about you? Who knows but what you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this? 2020, you're not here by accident. Neither am I. Will you stand up and speak up for the Christian worldview in your office, in the factory, maybe on the school board, wherever you serve, in your church, in your neighborhood, in your city? Will you stand up and be an Esther? If I perish, I perish, but I'm going to take a stand for righteousness, what is right, and I'm against what the devil is doing, trying to divide America and divide the world and divide families and divide marriages. And I'm going to take a stand for peace instead of war, and for common sense instead of rioting, and for the Jesus worldview instead of the secular worldview. My whole feeling in my heart today is, you're here for a purpose, and so am I, but we're not here just to stand around and complain on how bad everything is. The Lord has us here to make a difference. I just want to read the last part again. If I could be anywhere, I would not be here, but I am here. So I will bring where I want it to be to where I am. If I find one that makes a mistake, I'll encourage him to keep on trying. I will look for the lonely and say, "Can I sit with you?" I will look for tears of hurt and sadness and offer my towel of peace and joy. I will search for the heartless and give them part of mine. So if I bring where I want to be to where I am, then this is where I need to be. My friends, God has you there. God has me here for a reason. Take courage. Stand up. Use common sense, but also have courage and boldness. Jesus is Lord. the only reason why these 10-minute messages are being seen by so many hundreds of people is because people like you are sharing them. And you're sharing them with them. Then they share with somebody else. I can't believe how many are watching this across America, and I would love to mention the countries that I've heard from around the world. So that's one thing you can do. Just pass this on, and we will listen to the words of Esther one last time, or rather, these are the words of Mordecai to Esther. Who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Don't miss the moment. Jesus is Lord. Take courage, speak up, and make a difference. God bless you. I'll see you next week.